Okay, here's a way the dry method of removing popcorn from your ceiling. Now, what's good about this method is that you are left with a orange peel texture and you don't have to retexture. If you use the wet method, you will take all of the texture off and you'll be down to bare sheetrock and you'll have to retexture. First, I mask everything off. I use blue tape because it'll come off the wall fairly easy. Hopefully won't take off any paint. Then add your plastic. I just mask off the whole room because you do create a lot of dust. So I mask off the whole room and you end up pretty much like this. Now there's two tools that I use. I'll use this paint scraper, which works quite well, especially in the corners. But this is just, you don't have to push hard at all. Now this is if the popcorn has not been painted, or if it has been painted with a flat, cheap ceiling paint, you'll probably be okay. But if you have a semi-gloss, hold on. I have a mask on. If you have a semi-gloss paint that dries hard, then you're never going to be able to scrape it off like this. But this goes real easy. If it's just popcorn, see, I'm not even, you don't dig, just go real easy. Then you end up with pretty much an orange peel texture that looks pretty good. The other tool I will use is this 6-inch knife, and I'll just kind of lightly go over it to sort of even things out a little bit. Now you can also scrape with this. You don't push too hard, keep it sort of flat. Don't go like this. Keep it sort of flat, just go back and forth. Very little effort. And we'll get, here's a little light, see? I'm not pushing too hard. Barely pushing. Then you can do like this, sort of even things out a little bit, but you'll end up with an orange peel texture. So this is the dry method, and it's very dusty, very messy, but once again, you do not have to texture because you have an orange peel texture left over. And if you were going to do a skim coat of mud to make a smooth ceiling, it would be easier to do it over this than that. But these two tools right here work quite well. Paint scraper, 6-inch putty knife, 6-inch mud joint compound knife for taping and bedding. You want it fairly stiff, of course. You don't want anything too flimsy. And you do not apply hard pressure. It's very light pressure, and just slowly scrape back and forth. You don't want to dig into your ceiling. And works out quite well. You know, you start with this and you end up with this. And you will sneeze. Yeah, it gets a little dusty. I'm wearing a mask, but it still gets pretty dusty. Anyway, this is not a bad method at all. I've already done that over there. And technically you don't have to mask the walls, but it's going to get dust all over the walls. So, I mean, that's what I do. Mask everything off and just give it just a little. I'm barely applying pressure. I'm barely applying any pressure at all. Very easy. This does not take a heck of a lot of elbow grease. Now, if it was painted, it's going to be a little harder. And if it's painted with a semi-gloss or something, like in a bathroom, it's going to be very difficult. But anyway, this is the dry method, and saves you from having to retexture. Okay, as a final step, it's all scraped. As a final step, if you really want to try to blend everything in nice and evenly and make it look good, you get one of these sanding poles. I've got a screen on it, but you can use sandpaper. You get one of these sanding poles and just very lightly, just go across there. I'm doing this with one hand, but you just like that. Just go across there, just smooth things out a little bit. Anyway, I'm doing it with one hand, so it's not working. But you just get that thing like that. Just go across your ceiling. Very lightly. I'm not even putting any pressure on it. I think you get the idea. Just use that sanding pole and, just very lightly go over the whole ceiling. And, if you get a rough spot, just go over it just a little. No big deal. Not too hard. Don't make it smooth. Then you'll have to retexture. But anyway, that's about it. This is how it turned out. Frankly, looks pretty darn good. Oops. Looks pretty good if you ask me.